All right, welcome back everyone. So at this point, we're now on and past here, step 3. So just to reiterate, so we kind of know where we left off, right? Step 1, we talked about our theme and we used only lines. Then we transformed those lines and they became something a little different, talking about shapes. And in case you're wondering, yes, along the way, you will absolutely lose things in the process, and that's okay. That is the iterative process of everything we're working with. We're still only working with black and white shapes. Then we added in a word. In my case, I added the word depth to talk about the explorative nature of this theme that I'm coming up with, right? And it's kind of being designed in the process. You'll notice that after I drew it out, I also started just kind of feeling, well, maybe this could link over here. And what if like the H kind of dissolved into the bottom? I had a swoosh. See the swoosh? I had a swoosh over there, and I kind of made the swoosh kind of mold and morph into the D and the E. So things will get lost along the way. If you feel like maybe the letter P should shoot down over there, however you want to do it, there isn't a wrong way, but you still want to make sure as you're drawing out your letter forms that you're taking the time to draw them kind of properly and clean and crisp. And again, you have a high level at all times, a high level of craftsmanship. Then I went through after inking it all in, I erased it, and you'll notice again, along the way, things were lost. These little triangles, no more. Now it's a big blob, right? So that's okay. Things are going to adjust and manipulate and mutate along the process, but the concept is still at the very core of our design. So now the next step, we're going to start introducing more than just plain old black and white. We're going to start working in a monochromatic scale, a value scale, if you will. Now, I have never, ever been a fan of the one time you take an art class and you have to do a color wheel or a value scale. I'm not a fan. We're not going to do it. But we are going to be using a monochromatic palette, just black and white kind of gray values, okay? We will be incorporating color later, don't worry. So for right now, let's set this guy off on the side. What are we going to get into? Well, the next thing we're going to do, we're going to be getting into tessellations. Okay, what is tessellation? Well, it's a way of making a pretty cool looking pattern. Normally, you probably have done this back in like high school math class. This was like a totally go-to project for the math teacher to feel like they were having a creative day. So that's what we're going to get into. So what I would suggest is that you take, maybe even on your previous designs, if you've got some like little scrap corner or something, I would suggest ballpark, you want something that's like about 1 inch by 1 inch, just a little tiny square. You can go up to 2 inches by 2 inches if you want to make a bigger square. I would not go any larger than 2 inches by 2 inches, okay? So if you'd like, take the time, have a piece of paper ready, and get out kind of 1 inch by 1 inch. And yes, it has to be a square, okay? So once you've done that, mind my reach there. Once you've done that, feel free, we're done with this guy, right? So we can just kind of cut him up, that's all right. Cut out your square, again, 1 inch by 1 inch, 2 inch by 2 inch, 1 if by land, 2 if by sea. So you got your little square. For the sake of the demo, I'm gonna work on my sticky note here, but it's the exact same process, just a little smaller, okay? All right, so tessellation. There are actually a lot of different ways to do tessellations. If you wanna look up other examples, I'll have a couple posted on our discussion board there, or on our announcement board. But if you want to do a different method than what I'm showing you, please go ahead. You are welcome to experiment and do this on your own, but your design does have to tessellate. And what tessellation means is basically like a puzzle piece. It should link together, okay? So what I find the kind of most creative, fun way, while still being the easiest way, is to basically cut it up and down and then side to side. So here's how we're gonna do it. First things first, going from the top to bottom or bottom to top, you want to draw some kind of design. Now, for my case, mine has kind of flowing lines, but also has some jaggedy lines. So that's what I'm gonna be thinking about when I'm doing my design. You can make yours look however the heck you want to. So for mine, I kind of wanna start up here, maybe a curvy line that kind of swooshes around and down. That looks pretty cool. So I can sit here and cut, but I'll be honest, cutting curvy lines like that is gonna take an eternity. What is so much easier is to use my cutting board and my X-Acto blade. When you're cutting, look where your thumb is, because we always end up cutting towards our thumb, and that will hurt a lot. So when you're cutting, just get rid of that thumb. That's all you got to do, right? If there's nothing behind your knife, then it can't hurt. Also, remember that you can touch the top or the bottom, anywhere over here all day long. You just can't go underneath that knife blade. So just be aware of where your other non-dominant hand is while you're cutting. You're not going to hurt this hand. It's holding the knife. So I kind of come in at an angle here and cut. Now, how do I do this curve? Well, I can bend my wrist, but instead of bending it all the way around, that's not going to work. Just turn the paper. It works. It'll work really well. Pushing and cutting. Bending around. And just about the point where you kind of feel awkward in your wrist here, that's when you should turn your paper. All right, pretty cool. So there's my two pieces, right? Now, what you're gonna do is basically switch swap them. So this piece goes over here, that piece goes over there. You can use some Elmer's glue if you want to, or in my case, I'm just gonna use some tape. And yes, in case you're wondering, this is dollar store tape. This whole class is gonna be like $10. It's nothing. This is a little crafty for my taste. I normally don't really like doing arts and crafts. Maybe you do, I don't know. So you've got your cool tessellated shape. And again, you can kind of see how if it was a pattern, right? This side would connect to this side. It would create a long pattern. That's what we want. That means tessellation, okay? Next, we're going to turn it so that it's now kind of top to bottom. Same thing, you're gonna draw a new pattern right down the middle, and you could draw it off center if you want, but you want it to go from top to bottom or bottom to top. In my case, I think I'm gonna slice right through this kind of happy little piece right here. Now I want it to be kind of zigzaggy, so let's go kind of that way. And then let's go straight down, and then like over. It's kind of cool. Okay, same thing, X-Acto blade. Nice clean lines. In fact, I'm gonna use a ruler, because why not? I can get nice clean lines like that. And again, I'm very much aware of where my other hand is. Don't hurt yourself. And look, don't cut away from your body, or don't, you're losing control of the knife. Always cut so that you feel like you're in control. Connect these two lines right about there. There we go. Okay. Easy. And then, no surprise, we're just gonna flip it yet again. Now, what do you do with this? Should I pop it over like that? So technically speaking, you can, right? Because again, look how it's gonna mirror up and over. You don't have to. I would personally suggest, for the sake of ease, that you make sure this little plus here in the middle where the previous outer edges, right, that stays intact. You can, again, there are different ways of doing this. You can adjust it, but to make sure that it tessellates, to make sure that it doesn't break, because these can break easily as far as like the pattern goes. I would keep that plus right in the center just to make sure that it all works, okay? So, when you're all said and done, you'll have a really weird, goofy looking shape. But what you can then do with this weird, goofy looking shape, let's grab some scratch paper here. What you can then do is basically trace this shape, and it will tessellate. So I trace it like this, and just like a cool puzzle that you're making kind of on your own, it will match. And it should match, because we did the top and the bottom, it should match in any direction. Now, again, there are different ways to do this. There are ways to kind of twist your pattern and bend it, and by all means, again, feel free to do something different. But this is the best way that works kind of for everyone. So, see how that matches going that way? It will match going that way. It will match going that way, and it will match going that way. So then basically you're just gonna repeat it, right? One on top of the other on top of the other in every top, bottom, left, and right direction until you have this cool pattern. Where are we repeating it? Well, that's the question of the day. So you are absolutely welcome to redraw this for the sake of our class, for the sake of argument. And this is why I'm saying that you should draw something much smaller. So again, a 1 inch by 1 inch square, 2 inch by 2 inch square. Don't go much larger than that because we're gonna fit it onto our paper. Now, if remember that my paper is 12 by 9 inches.